Have you ever woken up with that silent, heavy feeling that, deep down, nothing really matters? That cold whisper in your mind that says, what's the point of all this effort? What's the ultimate meaning of it all? This feeling, which freezes the soul and drains the color, isn't just a bad mood or pessimism, it's the shadow of nihilism haunting your life. And it's a pain that our generation often tries to stifle with noise and distractions. It touches you when you achieve an important goal, but the happiness lasts only a fleeting instant. It manifests itself on that Sunday night, when the emptiness between the end of leisure and the beginning of the week seems like a purposeless eternity. It's the pain of feeling like a random snowflake in an indifferent universe. If you've ever felt like this, lost in the middle of nowhere, with achievements seeming hollow, you know exactly what we're talking about. It's the crisis of meaning that affects millions of mature people who already have everything, but still feel empty. But what if I told you that there is an answer to this emptiness, and that it's not found in gurus or complicated philosophies, but in something you already have within yourself? This solution comes from one of the giants of existential psychology, Rollo. He didn't see human beings as passive victims of fate, but as courageous sculptors of their own reality. May taught us that freedom is indeed terrifying, but it is precisely in this freedom that our most powerful weapon against nihilism resides. In this video, we'll delve into the work of Rollo to uncover the 5 exact ways to use your creativity, not just as art or a hobby, but as an existential act of courage, to build a robust and unwavering meaning in a world that insists nothing is worthwhile. Prepare to transform your despair into creative power. And now for 5 ways to use creativity to overcome nihilism, by Rollo. But first, just make sure you're already subscribed to the channel, because the next videos will be a series of content to help you achieve unwavering mental and emotional health. Imagine yourself sitting on the edge of a precipice. Not a physical precipice, but an existential one. On one side, the life you know, on the other, a cold abyss called nihilism. Nihilism, in practice, is not a philosophy book you read, it's a devastating emotional and psychological state. It's the visceral feeling that all the effort you put into your career, your relationships, or even your personal growth, is fundamentally useless because the universe, in the end, doesn't care. This cosmic indifference translates into a profound feeling of helplessness and apathy, undermining your will to move forward. This pain is especially acute in adulthood, in people over 30, because that's when many illusions crumble. The promise of perpetual happiness that society sells falls apart, and the reality of finitude and uncertainty takes over. You acquire the apartment, the car, financial stability, but you ask yourself, and now? Is that all? This existential void is the true face of nihilism, confronting us with the lack of a predefined and absolute purpose. The nihilist feels like a mere spectator, a grain of sand without relevance in the whirlwind of time. Rollo, observing post-war society, identified this denial of values and purpose as a modern disease leading to paralysis. He realized that when grand religious or social narratives, the great meaning, fail, the individual is left to their own devices, and this overwhelming freedom can lead to despair. Nihilism, therefore, is the cowardly flight from freedom. Instead of facing the responsibility of creating meaning, the person surrenders to the idea that meaning does not exist, sparing themselves the effort and risk of living authentically. Our starting point, then, is to acknowledge this pain. To look at the nihilistic void not with fear, but with the frankness of an explorer. Nihilism wants you to be content with repetition and resignation. But challenges us to use this void as a springboard. He shows us that the absence of a prefabricated meaning is, in fact, a radical invitation for you to become the craftsman of your own life. The challenge is, how to transform this paralysis into movement, this despair into creative impulse. To understand the solution, we need to understand the man who proposed it. Rollo was not a laboratory theorist, but a man deeply marked by the human experience of pain and overcoming. He was one of the founding fathers of existential psychology in the United States, a field that refuses to reduce human beings to mere reflexes or instincts. Places the experience of being, what it means to be alive, to be free, and to be confronted by death, at the center of his work. His life, marked by a struggle against tuberculosis that forced him into a long period of seclusion, taught him firsthand the importance of finding inner meaning in the face of an overwhelming and threatening external reality. May became famous for addressing themes that traditional psychology avoided, such as anxiety, love, and myth. For him, anxiety was not just a symptom to be eliminated with medication or quick therapies, it was, in fact, the inevitable price of our freedom. If we are free to choose who we will be and what we will do, we are also free to make mistakes and face the emptiness of the future. This awareness of uncertainty, this tension between the desire to live and the certainty of dying, generates anxiety. It is the sign that you are at the limit of your own existence. This is where his concept of creativity comes in. Rollo May argued that creativity is not limited to painting canvases or writing poems. It is an attitude towards life. It is the manifestation of our ability to transform the raw and chaotic experience of reality into something new and meaningful. He saw creativity as the healthiest and most powerful response to existential anxiety. If anxiety is the perception of imminent danger, the threat of nihilistic nothingness, creativity is the courageous act of imposing form, value, and order where before there was only chaos and despair. So, when we look at Rollo May, we see someone who provides us with a philosophical framework for survival. He tells us, yes, the world is uncertain, life is finite, and freedom is frightening. But it is precisely because life doesn't give us a ready-made script that we have the power and the responsibility to write it. Creativity, in May's view, is the engine that allows us to transcend nihilism and build a purpose, not one that is imposed, but one that is authentically our own. It is the guide that takes us out of the role of victim and puts us in the role of creator of our own destiny. The central thesis of this video, inspired by Rollo May and which will serve as an anchor for our 5 approaches, is this: creativity, in its deepest sense, is not a hobby, not a leisure activity to fill free time. It is an act of existential courage and the main tool that human nature possesses to construct meaning in the face of the nihilistic indifference of the universe. Think of it as your ability to be an alchemist of the soul, to take the lead of despair and transform it into the gold of purpose. Nihilism disarms us, convincing us that we are mere products of random forces and that our actions are insignificant in the grand scheme of things. It places us in the passive position of consumers of life. But Rollo May reverses this logic. He reminds us that we are creators by essence. The act of giving birth to a new idea, a new project, a new way of relating, or even a new routine, is what May calls encountering non-being, the void, and triumphing over it. It's like an artist who encounters a blank canvas, the void, and, instead of running away, decides to impose their will and vision. What nihilism takes away, a universal and pre-existing meaning, creativity allows us to restore with a personal and constructed meaning. The point is no longer, what does life mean, but rather, what am I going to make life mean? This shift in perspective is revolutionary. It pulls us out of the paralysis of contemplation and throws us into the whirlwind of action. Creativity then becomes the bridge between our frightening freedom and the fulfillment of a purpose that makes life worthwhile, here and now. Therefore, throughout the next 5 steps, you will see that creativity is our language of being. It is how we communicate with the universe, declaring, I am here, and my existence has value because I choose to give it value. It transforms emptiness into raw material, doubt into design, and anxiety into driving energy. Prepare to discover how to use this innate force not only to deal with nihilism, but to actively overcome it, step by step, transforming your life into your greatest work of art. The first and most vital way to use creativity against nihilism is to practice it as an act of being. Rollo May argued that the most fundamental creative act is not producing something external, but rather the act of asserting oneself, of becoming who you are. When nihilism attacks us, it seeks to erase our uniqueness, to convince us that we are replaceable. The creative response is a resolute no to this annihilation, a declaration that, I exist, and my way of existing is unique and valuable. Consider the metaphor of birth. Creativity, according to May, is a painful and heroic process of giving birth to something new, whether it's a work of art, a new vision of oneself, or a new ethical stance. This requires what he called the courage to be. This courage is not the absence of fear, it is the willingness to move forward despite the anxiety that arises when we stand out. Nihilism prefers the security of mediocrity, the comfort of being nobody in particular. The courage to be is the audacity to say, I risk being who I am, with all my flaws and potential. This form of creativity manifests itself in how you choose to live your daily routines, in how you interact with people, and in how you choose to spend your time and energy. It's the creativity of building your own lifestyle instead of adopting a ready-made model. For example, if you decide that your value lies in generosity, and you consistently act in that way, you are creating a generous being, shaping a value that directly combats nihilistic cynicism. You are actively sculpting your character. By practicing creativity in being, you transform your life from a mere accident into a project. You cease to be a passive object dragged along by circumstances and become the active subject who gives meaning to those circumstances. This is what May called encounter, the moment when you relate intensely and authentically to the world. Nihilism turns us into zombies, repeating patterns. Creativity in being awakens us, compels us to take ownership of our lives and transform them into a reflection of what we believe they should be. It is your way of saying to the universe, I exist, and that makes all the difference. The second approach, and perhaps the one most closely linked to the core of Rollo May's existential psychology, is to use creativity to cope with anxiety. We need to understand the crucial distinction May made. There is neurotic anxiety, which is disproportionate and irrational, fear of spiders, and existential anxiety, which is inevitable and healthy, as it is the awareness of our freedom and our finitude. Nihilism thrives by transforming existential anxiety into neurotic paralysis. It tells us, if you can die at any moment, and if nothing lasts, do nothing. Creativity at the limit is the ability to act despite existential anxiety. Every creative act is, by definition, a step into the unknown. When you create, you are risking failure, ridicule, and imperfection. You are leaving your comfort zone and exposing yourself. This is why May claimed that creation requires courage. You are confronting the void, non-being, and saying, I will build something here, even if it is fragile and temporary. It's like the poet who faces the blank page, which is a mirror of emptiness, and decides to fill it with meaning. Nihilism traps us in a cycle of avoidance. We avoid risk, we avoid commitment, we avoid failure, and in doing so, we avoid life itself. Creativity forces us into a direct encounter with these limits. When you dedicate yourself to a challenging project, personal or professional, you are actively managing anxiety. You take the energy of fear, which, if not used, becomes paralysis, and channel it into execution and construction. Anxiety becomes the necessary pressure to shape the raw material of your project. Therefore, use your creativity to transform fear into a driving force. If you are paralyzed by the fear of starting a new business, or having a difficult conversation, or changing careers, use creativity to shape that project. Draw up the plan. Write the first paragraph of the book. Take the first tiny step. Each step is a creative micro-act that tames anxiety. May teaches us that creativity is not the absence of fear, but rather the victory of the will to be over the nihilistic temptation to cower. You are using the tension of the limit to propel the creation of something worthwhile. The third way to use creativity to overcome nihilism takes us outside ourselves, into the realm of relationships. Rollo May, deeply influenced by Martin Buber, the philosopher of the I-thou, understood that meaning is not something found in isolation, but is co-created in the authentic encounter with the other. Nihilism is a condition of profound isolation, where you feel disconnected and invisible. Creativity in relationship is the antidote that weaves bonds of meaning. The creative act, in this context, is the ability to imagine the world of another. The nihilist can only see their own suffering and emptiness, which makes them egocentric and cynical. Creativity and empathy requires you to strive to put yourself in the other person's shoes, your coworker, your partner, your child. This is a creative act because you are mentally constructing a reality that is not your own. This creation of emotional bridges is what may call Dasein, or being there, which is only completed in mutual recognition. By connecting creatively, you break the cycle of isolation. Nihilism destroys trust and connections, arguing that everyone is selfish and relationships are fleeting. But when you use your creativity to communicate vulnerability and embrace the vulnerability of others, you are creating a micro-universe of shared meaning. Authentic love and friendship are, for May, the highest form of relational creativity, as they require the risk of opening up and the discipline of maintaining presence. Therefore, use your creativity to shape lasting bonds of meaning. This might mean being creative in how you listen, how you resolve conflicts, or how you celebrate the other. It's the art of being present. When you are engaged in a true encounter, time seems to stand still, and the nihilistic emptiness is temporarily filled by the fullness of human connection. Nihilism says, you are alone. Creativity in relationship responds, we create our meaning, together. The fourth form leads us to the heart of will and direction, creative intentionality. Rollo gave enormous weight to the concept of intention, defining it as the human capacity to give direction and structure to the world. Nihilism is the state of non-intention, where a person feels adrift, without a compass, merely reacting to external stimuli. Creativity, on the other hand, is the act of projecting a future and, with that, giving meaning to the present. Creative intention is the starting point for all overcoming. If nihilism says, there is no purpose in the universe, creativity responds, I will create my purpose. May reminds us that human beings are not only determined by the past, as in classical psychoanalysis, but are fundamentally beings who project themselves into the future. The act of dreaming, planning, and working towards a goal you yourself have chosen is the purest way to combat nihilistic apathy. You are actively inscribing your will into the fabric of reality. This form of creativity translates into building personal purposes that resonate with your deepest values. It's not about seeking a grand, messianic purpose, but about life projects that give shape and value to your daily life. It could be writing the book you've always wanted to, building a closer family, or developing a new professional skill. The important thing is that the choice is yours and that you invest your creative energy in that goal. Intention is the engine that transforms desire into reality. By cultivating creative intentionality, you become the author of your own story. Nihilism is the negation of history, creativity is its continuous writing. Each day becomes a page, and your intention is the pen. May teaches us that willpower is not just wanting something, but the conscious framework we use to transform potential into action. You are using your creativity to give a name and direction to the nihilistic void, replacing resignation with a dynamic life purpose. So, were you already familiar with the benefits of existential creativity? Did you already know any of this information about Rollo? Share in the comments what your most powerful insight has been so far. Continuing. The fifth and final form, which ties all our reasoning together, is creativity in structure, giving form to chaos. The popular idea of creativity is often romantic and chaotic, the disorganized artist. Rollo, however, emphasizes that true creativity is impossible without discipline and form. Nihilism is, in essence, chaos, disintegration, lack of limits, and a torrent of possibilities without criteria. The art of nihilistic overcoming is the art of imposing limits and order. The act of creating is to take the formless raw material of the world, nihilistic chaos, turbulent emotions, the random flow of events, and subject it to a structure. A painter doesn't just throw paint on a canvas, he chooses the canvas, the brushes, the palette, and the technique. The writer doesn't just type words, he structures chapters, constructs the narrative, and imposes a voice. This discipline of form is what transforms chaos into something meaningful. Structure is the ship that allows us to navigate the turbulent sea of existence without sinking into nihilism. For you, this translates into creating creative rituals and routines. If life seems chaotic and meaningless, use your creativity to build structures of value. This could be daily time set aside for reflection, a journal that forces you to give shape to your thoughts, or the discipline of consistently dedicating yourself to a project you love. The intentional repetition of a creative ritual, as May observed in her own studies, is what strengthens your will to be and resists the nihilistic tendency to disintegrate. By embracing creativity within structure, you are demonstrating the power of your will to be. You prove to yourself that you can organize your life and your thoughts, creating a personal cosmos within the universal chaos. Nihilism wants you to be inert, structure demands deliberate action. This discipline is not a prison, but the skeleton that allows movement. It is the way to ensure that your intention materializes and that the meaning you have created is maintained and actively lived in your daily life. Okay, let's move on to the next episode of Ways to Use Creativity to Overcome Nihilism by Rollo May, but first I noticed you haven't liked this video yet. That's very important so YouTube can continue showing you our content and we can continue helping you. So, please like this video, it's free. We have reached the crucial point in our journey with Rollo May. The great message he leaves us with is that creativity is, ultimately, the language of being. It is the means by which a person communicates with the universe, declaring that, even in the face of the certainty of death and the absence of absolute values, life is worthwhile. We have seen that nihilism is a voice that whispers futility, creativity is the voice that shouts self-created value. It allows us to transcend mere biological existence to embrace authentic existence, one that is chosen, designed, and lived with intensity and responsibility. Creativity, in all its 5 forms, is the instrument for transcending paralysis. It takes the energy of existential anxiety, the fear of emptiness and freedom, and recycles it, transforming it into driving energy for action. The nihilist is trapped in contemplating meaninglessness, the creative human being is actively engaged in the production of meaning. It is a shift in focus, from what does not exist, absolute purpose, to what can be created, personal purpose. It is May's great invitation, to accept emptiness as the blank canvas for your greatest work. Therefore, overcoming nihilism is not a process of finding something, but rather of building something. It is a work ethic, a discipline of the soul. It is the courage to be imperfect, to risk failure, and to expose oneself in the creative process. If you feel adrift, May would give you a compass forged by your own intention and the tools of your own creative discipline. Life becomes meaningful when we treat it as a continuous artistic project, where each day is a brushstroke, and each choice is an aesthetic and moral decision. Rollo May's legacy is a powerful affirmation of the inherent power of humankind. He lifts us from victimhood and places us in the chair of the main artist of our existence. Creativity is our proof that nihilism can be overcome, not by philosophical arguments, but by concrete acts of value and form. We conclude, then, with this powerful conclusion: to overcome nihilism, you must become the courageous creator of your own life, forging meaning in the furnace of your own existential anxiety. Nihilism often disguises itself as laziness or creative block. The nihilistic person says, "I have no inspiration," and uses this as an excuse for inaction. Rollo May dismantles this romantic idea. He teaches us that creativity is not a random outpouring of divine inspiration, but rather the result of a disciplined process and consistent practice. Think of any great master, whether in music, science, or carpentry. What sets them apart is the methodical dedication to shaping their raw material into form. Discipline, in this existential context, is the muscle that resists entropy. The universe, according to the laws of physics, tends towards chaos. Nihilism is the passive acceptance of this tendency. The creative act, on the other hand, is an act of energetic resistance. It requires you to sit at the table, to set your schedule, to tolerate the frustration of the first imperfect attempts, and to repeat the process, refining the form with each cycle. Without this discipline, intention, as seen in Topic 7, dissipates into mere unfulfilled desires, fueling the cycle of frustration and nihilism. For those seeking purpose after 30, applying this creative discipline means stopping waiting for a big calling and starting to honor the small rituals. Your ritual of writing for 30 minutes a day, your commitment to learning a new professional skill for an hour, or your time dedicated to reflection and meditation, all of this is the manifestation of creativity in structure. You are actively building healthy boundaries in your life that serve as dikes against the flood of hopelessness. By imposing process discipline, you are proving to yourself that you are capable of generating order from internal and external chaos. This consistency generates autonomy and confidence, feelings that are completely antagonistic to nihilistic helplessness. You are not just doing something, you are becoming someone who values their own capacity for creation and resilience. Rollo May concludes that the most important art is not the finished work, but the courage to persist in the process of creating it, day after day. Rollo May, in delving into existential questions, realized that our finitude, the certainty that we will die, is, paradoxically, the greatest source of creative energy and the greatest antidote to nihilism. Nihilism uses death to paralyze. If we are going to die, nothing matters. May reverses this logic. Because we are going to die, everything matters, and the urgency is now. The awareness of death, when faced with courage, transforms our perception of time. It forces us into a sense of urgency that prevents wasting time on the irrelevant. If your time is limited, you can no longer afford to live a life based on the expectations of others or to postpone your most important projects. Finitude thus becomes a creative catalyst, a positive pressure that pushes us to give shape to our values and intentions before the deadline arrives. This acceptance of finitude leads us to the creativity of authenticity. You stop caring about what is perfect or popular and start focusing on what is true to you. You use your creative energy to build a legacy, not necessarily a stone monument, but a mark of value in your own life and in the lives of the people you touch. It's a way to ensure that, at the end of your life, you can look back and say, I lived my life and created my meaning. Therefore, to overcome nihilism, embrace the beauty of being finite. Let the shadow of death illuminate what truly matters. Use creativity to maximize the quality and depth of each moment. Nihilism is a life lived passively, waiting for the end. Creativity, fueled by finitude, is a life lived actively, creating as much meaning as possible in each instant. It is your ultimate way of affirming life and challenging emptiness. May viewed creativity not only as a psychological tool, but as a moral and ethical choice. The opposite of creativity is not inaction, but cynicism. Nihilism, when it becomes active, transforms into cynicism, the destructive negation of values and the belief that all effort is motivated solely by petty or selfish interests. The cynic is the nihilist who feels superior for not being deluded by the search for purpose. Creativity demands that you make a bet of faith in the value of your own actions. By creating, you are implicitly saying, this project has value, this relationship is worth the effort, this change has meaning. This bet is a moral act that directly opposes cynicism. The cynic criticizes the world in a sterile and destructive way. The creative person actively builds the world they would like to see. For our mature audience, creativity versus cynicism is a daily choice in their social and professional circles. Nihilism invites you to complain about the system and distrust everyone. Creativity invites you to find a flaw and create a solution, to find a need and build a bridge, to find a moment of despair and create a gesture of hope. It's the choice to be a catalyst for value instead of a destroyer of dreams. Therefore, use your creative force to actively stand against cynicism. Create spaces for grounded optimism. Create conversations that deepen understanding, instead of gossip that diminishes. Rollo May reminds us that love and creativity are two inseparable forces. Where there is love and a desire to build something of value, creation, cynicism and nihilism cannot survive. Creativity is your political and spiritual act of affirming good. In his profound analysis of the soul, Rollo May recognize that creativity cannot be solely about the positive and the beautiful, it must integrate the shadows. Nihilism is the complete rejection of the shadow, pain, suffering, chaos, because it is found unbearable. Mature creativity, however, is the capacity to give form and meaning even to the experience of suffering. An artist doesn't ignore darkness, they use it. The sculptor uses negative space to define positive form. The writer uses conflict and pain to create depth and empathy. Similarly, in your life, the creativity of totality demands that you use your flaws, your mistakes, and your nihilistic moments as part of the raw material for your growth. You are not defined solely by your successes, but by the creative way you rise after a fall. This integration is a process of continuous self-discovery. You are always rewriting your own story, and a good storyteller doesn't omit the difficult chapters. By giving shape to your pain, whether by writing about it, transforming it into a project to help others, or finding a new philosophy of life after a loss, you are actively transforming poison into medicine. You are using your creativity to extract value and learning from what seemed to be only destruction. Rollo encourages us to see life as a constantly evolving work of art, which cannot be perfect, but can be complete. Completeness comes from the courageous inclusion of all elements, light and shadow. Nihilism wanted us fragmented, creativity makes us whole. This creative totality is the point where emptiness is no longer a threat, but rather the necessary backdrop for your unique existence to shine in all its complexity and beauty. The penultimate topic leads us to the question of legacy, which is the ultimate answer to nihilism. Nihilism questions the lasting value of our actions. Creative legacy is proof that meaning can indeed survive our time. For Rollo, creativity expressed in the form of love, teaching, or lasting works is the deepest form of transcendence. Your legacy doesn't have to be a museum. It's the chain of meaning you pass on. It could be how you raised your children, the knowledge you mentored your colleagues, or the community you helped build. These are creative acts, as they shape the future with the values you built in the present. You are actively inserting your intention into the world of tomorrow. For mature individuals, thinking about legacy is an act of creative responsibility. It's an opportunity to use accumulated wisdom to create something that will have a life of its own. Nihilism tells us to accumulate and retain, the creativity of legacy tells us to give and plant. It's a way of saying, I have accepted my finitude, topic 11, but the meaning I have created will continue to flourish. By focusing on the creative legacy, you combat nihilism with the power of continuity. You are using your ability to create to sow purpose in fertile ground, ensuring that the flame of meaning does not go out. It is your ultimate and most potent way of challenging oblivion and proving that life is, ultimately, a creative collaboration across generations. We've reached the tipping point. Rollo gave us the framework, now, it's up to you to have the courage to act. Overcoming nihilism is a personal journey that begins with a single question: where is my creative chaos? What void, anxiety, or disorder in your life most needs your courageous intervention? Creative chaos can be that stagnant professional project, that relationship that needs a new form of communication, creativity in relationships, or that area of your health that demands the discipline and structure of a new routine, creativity in structure. Don't wait for meaning to come to you, go to the chaos and start sculpting its meaning. Today's step is small, but radical: choose a creative act to perform immediately. It could be writing a page, drawing a sketch, or having that difficult conversation you've been putting off. Remember, the creative act is the meeting point between your will and reality. This is Rollo's final invitation: embrace your creative responsibility. The world may be nihilistic, but you don't have to be. Use your freedom to create, to love, and to shape a life worth living. So, now that you know the story of Rollo and creative existentialism, were you already aware of these events? Let us know in the comments if you knew about them, or if you know someone who doesn't know Rollo's story and urgently needs a dose of purpose and courage. And don't forget to check out the next videos that are appearing on your screen now. Thank you for watching this far. Know that the true victory against nihilism lies not in finding a definitive answer, but in the continuous courage to ask questions and create your own answers. May Rollo's profound insight inspire you to see your life as the most important work of art you will ever create. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue receiving future content that will help you build a life of unwavering meaning and transform your chaos into creation. Until the next video. So, now that you know the story of Rollo and existentialism, were you already aware of these events? Let us know in the comments if you knew them or if you know someone who doesn't know Rollo May's story and urgently needs a dose of purpose. And don't forget to check out the next videos that are appearing on your screen now. Thank you for watching this far. I hope Rollo May's profound insights have ignited a creative flame within you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue receiving future content that will help you build a life of unwavering meaning. Until the next video.